Здравствуйте.
Hello.
2016-2017 год, что было, что
2016, 2017, as King Solomon said, nothing new under the sun. So let's see what happened and what will happen. The conflict in Syria, a new president for the United States. About these things and many others we'll talk about today. With us is one of the founders of the portal Zahav.ru and the journalist Alexander Schwartz. We're with Dr. Michael Leitman. Hello, Dr. Leitman. I am Masha. I will take your questions. Hopefully, we'll have many of your questions. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're waiting for your questions. Let's go. So, I'll begin. Last year, we had more or less at the very same time such a meeting, and one of the questions, it was 2015, and we talked about 2016, and we asked, what is 2016 going to be like? And you said that you're not a prophet, but if we'll unite, things are going to be good. If we won't unite, things are going to be bad. So how was this year? I think it was a good year. A good year. I think that compared with all the previous years, I can say, looking at the past 30 years, starting with about less than 30, starting with 1990 more or less, I think that the previous, meaning 2016, was a very good year for Kabbalah, for the history of Kabbalah, for its introduction among the masses. I think that 2017 will be a serious breakthrough. Why? Because I see that that's how it is. First of all, as always, we we were on TV, newspapers. Today we have publications in many international newspapers, Jerusalem Post in English, Haaretz in English, Huffington Post. Now we're signing a contract with the New York Times and the Observer and many other in the Spanish language, French language. That's all abroad. Now, in Israel, we're on Ynet. It's the biggest news portal in Israel. We have articles there twice a week. Maybe we'll go on some other portal. You're talking about your organization that's engaged in dissemination. Yes, but what we couldn't previously do this year, we really took a giant step forward, and in accordance with what we see, we're in a good place. Okay, so for Kabbalah, everything's great, and in general in Israel? In Israel, as always, what can you have in Israel? I think the year was good, in general. We didn't have any big, serious problems, terror acts, wars. Everything was the way it should be. Hopefully the next year will be materialistically wise the same way this year went by. Only the spirituality is lacking. Okay, so I have a question. I was amazed. I put up I said that we're going to have this talk on my Facebook page, and I got a tremendous amount of questions. There's great people, they're very interested in you and in the wisdom of Kabbalah, but people are saying that the wisdom of Kabbalah is unreachable, unapproachable. It's unapproachable, and I'd like to ask you if this is possible. Our topic today is 2016, 2017, and If we can connect that with the questions that people have sent, then great. You have the questions, go ahead. So I'll ask the first question. Kabbalah was always esoteric wisdom, doctrine. I watch your lectures, your talks. Many times I heard that the time has now come to introduce Kabbalah in the masses. And this isn't only my question, but many people are asking, why now? Kabbalah was really something that the people of Israel were engaged in for about 1,500 years, since it was publicized by Abraham in ancient Babylon, where he himself came from. He organized a big group there, as Rambam writes, tens of thousands of people, and he took them here to the land of Israel. And throughout 1,500 years, that's from about 1,500 before BC, and more or less for 1,500 years, the people of Israel lived according to those laws of the wisdom of Kabbalah. But then they fell from that level, because it's the wisdom of Kabbalah demands of a person very high standards in order to keep it. Every time we ascend and descend, and ascend and descend, and then the people descended to a level called exile, from that very spiritual level, from the attainment of the spiritual degree, from the attainment of the system that's governing us. Meaning it's not just religion, but it's a system of the knowledge of the inner structure of the world that controls our world. And then throughout 2,000 years, we were disconnected from all this. We existed in exile. And the physical exile is a result of our inner spiritual exile. Afterwards, around the 15th century, came a great Kabbalist called the Ari. Everyone agrees that he is a tremendous force, and there's an excellent movie about him. It's a film by Semyon Vinokur. Yeah. So from the times of the Ari and on, it's not only that everyone can study Kabbalah, but everyone has to study Kabbalah. As a student, Chaim Vital writes, from the 15th century and on, it's allowed to study it, and everyone has to use it, because thanks to that, humanity that's right now starting to ascend from the Middle Ages will develop correctly. And it says about that, but the thing is that Baal Shem Tov, he tried to do that. That's what he actually did. He publicized the wisdom of Kabbalah in the masses. There were many opponents. There were many who resisted that. To this day, the Jewish people are divided into the Chassids and the Mitnagdim, those that are against. The Chassids are those that are following the path of the Baal Shem Tov, and the Mitnagdim are those that oppose them. And it's felt to this day. So, Baal Shem Tov, he tried to publicize the wisdom of Kabbalah, and it helped a lot. This is actually how the Hasidism was a result of that, but gradually that all too quenched. In the beginning of the 20th century came a great Kabbalist, Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag Baal Sulam, who wrote the commentary to the Book of Zohar. He wrote the 6 volumes of the Talmud of the 10 Sfirot. He gave a new push to the dissemination of the wisdom of Kabbalah, and he writes, and all the Kabbalists from the Ari and on, all of the successors of the Ari, and there were thousands of them, they all wrote that it's necessary to disseminate it and implement it.